on? Yeah, so.
Dave is on the phone.
Dave is on the phone, okay.
Yes.
And we heard Jamie's not coming. But...
Jamie's not coming, and I haven't heard from Jen or Chris.
Okay. Well, we have enough, and there's actually nothing on the agenda that we're voting on except for everyone get a chance to take a look at the minutes. Questions, comments, corrections? Okay. Minutes are accepted. No emails previously sent unless anything today. Okay. No new business, so we'll get right into the presentation.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Hurley, Engineering Manager at Town of Fairfield. The Town of Fairfield, through its engineering department, has hired a consultant to study the Rooster River watershed to help reduce flooding potential. The firm conducted hydraulic studies and extensive evaluation for providing detention areas within the neighborhood. Typically, the most ways of reducing flooding potential are either to increase the conveyance pipe sizes to get the water out, but that could harm or widen streams, or that could harm those downstream properties, or creating detention areas or basins that help reduce flows downstream. The consultant reviewed the Rooster River watershed. I should have probably brought a map of the Rooster River watershed, but I'll try to explain it and you help visualize. On the top of, where you have Sacred Heart, the old GE, you go up that hill.
Mm-hmm. We will provide the package.
Oh, good.
And
okay.
It has yours.
Oh, okay, great. All right.
And many more pages, including the map with the
okay,
various sites.
Good. All right. So everybody knows, basically water from Trumbull Mall to that high point by the new Sacred Heart comes down, and some of it goes by Owen Fish. The rest of it goes by like the Valley Road Bridge and over that way. They meet at Rooster River just behind, I got to get my condos right, Dogwood Green.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there goes down, actually goes into Bridgeport for a while, and then comes back and goes behind Villa Avenue and Lynbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes underneath by the Board of Ed building and underneath 95 and then out to Long Island Town. Just to give you a picture of all that. The storm from 2018, there was one in September, and that one really, and then one in this, 2021,
mm-hmm.
Hurricane Ida. So the two storms flooded almost like 3,000 people in the area. And so they've suffered two major storms, and then back in like 2005 and 6, they also had some flooding there as well. Matter of fact, one lady unfortunately passed away a little bit past the Board of Ed from flooding. So this is a very serious problem. It's a very large area, but the developments from the 40s, 30s, near Bridgeport, and as you work your way up, maybe in the 50s and 60s, there's hardly any spaces left. So the town they hired this consultant to look at 7 different sites. And out of that, there's really only 3 that still have some decent potential. And I did bring plans. If we have time, I'll leave it up to you. I could give you a little update on Tunxus Hill Park, which is one of them. The other one, which is probably the biggest bang for the buck, is it's a double detention area at Fairchild Wheeler. We've been working with the city of Bridgeport on that, and that is going to hold back a lot of water, and that's going to help the flooding as well.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Does that mean the Villa Avenue property is not happening now?
Oh no, the Villa Avenue property is happening, but that one is what I call localized. That one is really going to benefit Algonquin and some of the Villa Avenue properties that get flooded, but that's more of a localized one. But that one, that one we're still going forward with as well. But the Tunxus Hill one is a significant one. Let me see here. The Tunxus Hill one could hold at least 77% of a 10-year storm. And it's actually, we had to even increase the capacity for that one. So that's going to have a major, significant impact in holding back flooding. And Site 7, we were able to get a significant one. That's the Fairchild Wheeler one, where we can get, I think, 30 to 40% reduction of the water for the watershed. So those are two really important ones. The one here at Owen Fish is not as big as those, and I can go into obviously a little bit more detailed for that. When we provide a detention area, it would hold maybe 3 to 3.5 inches in a 24-hour storm. So the one for Hurricane Ida, that one might have been okay. The one before it, where we got 4 inches in 7 hours, or 6 inches in 7 hours, it wouldn't have been able to hold, and it would have held some of the water back, but obviously the rest of it would have gone down. To do that, we would probably have to lose the whole park, and we're not going to do that. So I'll just
My apologies, sir.
continue with the, so there was the sites there, and so in order, it would be Fairchild Wheeler would be the best bang for the buck, then it would be Tungus Hill, and both of those are already in permitting. Just to show you how long some of this stuff takes, they have a full 12 months to review the permits, just to review the permits, not even, it took almost 12 months to create all the information to submit to the permits. And so we got a good feedback finally from the DEP on those, but Army Corps still hasn't even looked at the permit that we submitted in November. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of background there. Going back to Owen Fish, we submitted the concept plans that show how a detention basin would look and function. The proposal would be to construct a berm along the, almost like an L, where it would be, I guess, from the baseball field there, that would be the left field corner, deep in the left field corner, where we would create a berm. The berm, we haven't, I don't think they've come up with, let me see what's coming back here. They have not developed, again, these are concepts, and that's why I felt it was important not to have the Board of Recreation vote, because I think you need to see the next step of plans, before you can make a good decision on it. But I'm going to make the assumption that this is about a 4-foot-high berm. If you don't know what a berm is, it's basically like a small dike or a hump of earth, usually. There would be a section that would be concrete where the water would have to spill over in case, like I was saying before, you get a really big flood. And that would be over here with this structure. And I was going to say so it would be about 4 foot high, and it would hold the water back. In this case, the watershed from that hill by the old GE or Sacred Heart, water comes down. It also comes after the golf course, so we're going to get some benefit there. It goes down by Casimir, and then it goes down by Churchill Road, and then it pops out at Lynn, Bennett, and Bond Street. Those areas there, the water comes, and right now it's piped. And here's one of the structures here, and it's piped, and it outlets. If you've been to Owen Fish, somewhere between the pond and the road, there's a head wall there, and that's where the pipe lets out. So the proposal, the concept, would be to break this open, where basically you would excavate the section of pipe and let it flow naturally. There's obviously a lot of environmental benefits for that in terms of water quality. Nature would filter it. I could understand some concerns of, an open stream, especially if you have players nearby, or someone chasing a foul ball, or the bleachers. And again, that we would have to develop the best location if they go with this approach. Another approach might be just to have a smaller section open, or a section where we could possibly fence off, or have a line of like landscaping where people wouldn't necessarily go in that area. But the water would come from the streams, and then rather than continue and bomb out, it would get into a chamber and then basically overflow and flood the, in this one it would be the left outfield, and over here would be the right field, or the softball field. And the water would flood there. The area would be 1.6 acres. and 1.74 acre feet. So that would mean that there's an average depth during the height of the storm. And again, these are, 4-inch, storms or more, not like a 1-inch storm. The water could be as high or deep as 1.5 feet. Then within 24 to 36 hours, all the water drains and it continues down the river. But by holding it back, much like a reservoir, there's something called the hydrograph, and usually it's the 1 hour. And for those who experienced any flooding for Rooster River, the Hurricane Ida was around midnight, so it was kind of hard to judge. But that one in 2018, around 5, it started to really pour. We even got a warning from the Weather Service that there's a flood warning at 3 o'clock. And then around 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it really came down. And right around 6 o'clock was the worst. By 7, it kind of calmed down a little. And then by 8, even though the water was still very high, it was like half the volume that it was before. So a lot of these storms, you're really just trying to hold that worst 1 hour peak, much like traffic, where, you can go on a highway, it's not too bad, but 5 to 6, forget it, same situation here. So this area would flood, and this is where the design would come in, with a series of under drains and whatever, and some drainage along the very outskirts. We would then take the water and help drain the field. Right now, I imagine when it rains, these fields the day after, it's still pretty bad. Now, you might have to wait another day or two, for these big storms. So that's the scenario of holding the water, having it go here rather than continue down, and it helps downstream flooding. On this side, I think it was in your packet. It just kind of gives you a little bit more of an overview. In green here is the berm. This is the wet area. It doesn't really affect the ponds, because this pond, that water bypasses the pond anyway. The pond would still be serviced by the little stream behind the red little building and the restrooms there. This was another area where, again, the berm is built up. And then this is, an example of a stream. I think the consultants, I'm not going to say whether they're sport fans or not, I think they were thinking more of the park and having a stream and, some rocks here and have the water go under normal. Like if you went there today, it would be like a normal stream, As I said, we might be able to shift it closer to the Stratfield Road. We might be able to do something with it. I would have to check. I think they said if we had to just keep it piped, that would be another option as well. It wouldn't have as much environmental benefit from it, and then go from there. You never know. I think we'd have to go through wetlands, and so wetlands might say, we'd like you to break open the pipe, and then we might not have a choice. But that's what we're trying to do. As I said, there's so many homes that do get flooded, and for us, the people are frustrated. What is the town going to do? We can't, just like with traffic, you just can't make it disappear. So,
all right.
I was just going to, so that's pretty much the presentation. I can go into a lot more detail.
Questions as
sure,
it relates to this and Woodfield. Because I read through all the material, and clearly there's a reason why you want something in the upper third.
Right, exactly.
But except for the soil, which I don't think has fully been tested in Woodfield seems to have a larger capacity than this. It's in the upper third, and I don't know if you're aware of the master plan that we've recently completed, an evaluation of all the parks and the fields. And Owen Fish, the plan was to move the baseball diamond,
flip it here, where the softball field is.
There's no softball field here.
Correct, and then create a multi purpose field where the baseball field is now. And this would, all but eliminate the possibility for that. But if you were able to substitute an alternate upper third site and go with the Woodfield Village, which looks like the drainage set is in the woods up there, and it would seem to me that you would achieve a site in the upper third, and it would leave Owen Fish for us to develop as we're proposing.
That's what we originally thought too. We had them look at Woodfield Village. A couple of things. Number one, Woodfield Village is completely private. This one we have a little bit more control of with town. Number two, Woodfield Village was less than 1% improvement because, like you said, there's already a detention area there. We weren't going to get that.
When you say there, you mean at Fairchild?
No, at Woodfield Village. In the woods, when they went for their conservation permit, their detention areas were most likely, I wasn't there, but most likely were designed to handle the increase in runoff by, if it was woods and now it's condos with parking, that's what that was built for, and not necessarily to handle extra flow. So there would only be a 1% improvement. The models show that as you get close to the design storm, the water would potentially flow over and then go down into a couple of condos. We had thrown it by them, and we really didn't get too far with them. We had one of the officers, in their condo association, had an open mind and said, "Oh yeah, this might be okay. We're gonna." But then again, with all the concerns that they had on that, we were not able. We had fully looked at it, and unfortunately, that's no longer even a viable spot. We would keep the detention the way it is, but we can't really increase it. It would be less than 1%. We'd have to do all sorts of liability issues. We'd have to basically maintain their areas now. And as I said, for less than 1% benefit, we have canceled that idea. Let's see. So that was that. So as I said, we only had the 2 of the 7
Chris was first, and then
Sure.
At 37.
Okay, so having played softball there and realizing some of the outfield can get a little wet and a little sloping, I'm looking at left field, and I'm wondering, with the amount of flow coming under there, and again, God, nature, if it gets very soft, I mean, have you guys thought about, from risk management, because this, mid-March through mid-November, it's being utilized all day long by high school, Little Leagues, Babe Ruth, American Legion, and AAU teams. The risk of injury. Nobody really wants to be stepping on wet. Wet.
And again, the point, just to make it clear, the points you're making are fine. There's a reason why we had 7 sites. We've looked at 6 of them. This is the only one that we haven't looked at.
But
yet.
did you guys have you guys spoken to in terms of the water table coming up? I just assume somebody plants their leg into something that's very soft.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I said. They'd have to have a whole under drain system. They'd have to have a lot of things. Just to even let you know, they had calculated at 2019. So just to even show you how far we've delayed this, but when all the other sites kind of were shot down, so to speak, I just doing my due diligence to make sure we've looked at all 7 sites, and as I said, just wanted to know how you feel.
But again, hold on, you're not really answering my question. my question is, have you worked with risk management and anybody outside of the town in terms of?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I think that's very important.
We're only
because-
at concept, we haven't even done.
Okay, because that, I mean, again, like, when the water gets soft in the outfield
Mhm.
and someone's chasing down a fly ball, which is happening for 9 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, can we just clear, sorry, this isn't, I think it may be helpful to us. We don't necessarily have the history in terms of why we're even having this conversation today. So maybe if we could just take a step back to say, because I think, Chris is asking a valid question. Your point is, this is all conceptual right now. So
Right now, this is conceptual, but to bring it back in history, okay, 2018 was when it first started, where, as I said, we had that big storm, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches fell in Fairfield in about a 4-hour span. We had anywhere from in Fairfield and Bridgeport, there were thousands, it could be up to even 3,000 people who experienced some sort of flooding. I held a meeting, a public informational meeting, and to my surprise, 150 people showed up. Okay, like right now, there's only the commission, man. But, 150 people had showed up demanding action, okay? And when you tell them, if you looked on an aerial, there's a couple of them where, all this neighborhood, there's no green space, there's no space to, as I said, hold the water. This was one of the ones, and this is by far, in my opinion, the most controversial one. Let me make that clear. If you guys, vote or give me an indication that you don't even want to sniff this, then that's fine. I've done my due diligence. It's just that at that meeting, 150 people, when I said, here's the 7 spots, I go, we might get pushback at Tungus Hill, Melville Park, and Owen Fish Park, because those are the only town properties that we could possibly hold water. Tungus Hill is going to be in the woods. We don't impact the fields. That one might fly, and so far that one has.
Which woods, Bill?
The woods
In right field, if you
for
have a
the
visual?
right field, right. From there to the old
Yeah.
Southwest.
the old Caldor parking lot or overflow parking lot,
Yeah.
from there, yep, back
And
there.
It is all wooded.
And I'm sorry, with regards to the wooded area, you're aware that we carved out a portion of that and gave it to the town for those low-income housing.
Right, I for the edge, yeah, that won't affect.
Okay,
us.
I just
But
want to
that-
make sure that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
using the most current
Right,
plan
yeah.
for that.
But also with Tungus Hill, let's take a forward-thinking approach to it, because we have been kicking around the idea of potentially turfing down there and using those woods that we own in right field, because that.
So don't, just to let you know, that's all mainly wetland soil, and that's why
Okay.
we've had 1 year of permitting and then 1 year of permitting review.
Yeah.
Just for that. But what I wanted to, and this is an important aspect. So when I said, again, I'm a big sports fan, trust me. When I said, you got all these leagues, soccer league, baseball, softball, men's, and then even AAU and some of the other, they're going to have a fit if we, use the playing field area,
As a detention area.
Right. And they were like, my house is flooded. I don't give a damn about the sports, And again, you have to realize that, so as a town, we're just trying to, balance to see.
No, it makes sense.
So, but they were, I won't say violent, but they were obviously, anybody, if you've experienced flooding, and so they were very emotional about it. Also, to let you know, I think it's important to know that, as I said, so Tungus Hill, and I can give you a little update if you want on that. The Melville one, we had only like a 4 or 5% improvement, and it would have been over anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million for like 4% improvement, and that was only on portions of the watershed. The other watershed wouldn't even be affected.
Wasn't Melville in the woods as well?
That one was off. Yeah, that one wouldn't.
So why would that cost so much?
Because in order to trap the water there in the woods, it was a 16-foot high dam, to give you an idea. Yeah, but again, we're talking a lot of water and on certain areas, yeah. Right. Because right from the fields are kind of built up and fill, and even right now, there's like a 6-foot, 8-foot drop off. Now, one of the things that they did do is well, what about, how do we get like a 20% improvement? So the quick 20% improvement was, believe it or not, sacrificing the softball field closest to the street. We met with Anthony, he said, no way. The wards, I think softball.
At Melville you're talking
Yeah,
about.
at Melville.
Yeah.
So the wards, softball, no way, you know, we have a commitment with that. You know, it's one thing to lose, you know, the field for a couple of days. It's one to where,
Yeah.
you know, you would lose it because by creating, like I said, the berm is on the edge. And this was before the master plan. But on that one, the berm would have been between the fields, so that's always, that would be permanent, you know, for the Melville one.
Yeah.
So that one got shot down, and that's why I didn't even bring it here.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting you know our way of thinking. So we've already, you know, had that. The Brookbourne Country Club was another one, and we would have to move a green, a bunker, and again,
Yeah,
less than 1% improvement, and that was
Brookbourne wasn't that
$2
one.
million.
And
So that one got
Fairchild
shot
Wheeler,
down.
it looked like there were 3 spots at Fairchild Wheeler. One that was away from any of the golf halls, but 2 looked like they impacted golf halls.
Oh, we've been working, and again, we've been working with the city of Bridgeport.
Are you still considering 3 spots?
No,
or
2, just 2.
2.
2.
Okay.
The one in the woods, same situation as
Yeah.
with the ones in the woods. Not, I mean, you have to totally clear the trees to make room for the berm, or the dike, or the dam, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, because these are like steep and V-notch, you have to worry about velocities. You have some other issues that you have to worry about. And again, in that particular location, you know, you put something up, it would have to be really high. You only get a small area behind it. And it was, again, like maybe 1 or 2%, and it wasn't worth it. But the other 2, once you get out of the woods, it's a little bit, it's flatter. Some of the areas actually get flooded in 2018 and 2021. We saw that some of those areas get flooded already. And we've been working with the city of Bridgeport to get this approved. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of time to work with the golf course on that, because obviously they have concerns as well. But again, it's a balancing act, because what do they say to their, you know, 1,500 residents that got flooded?
Right.
You
And,
know?
you know, Bridgeport owns the property, but it's located in
Fairfield, that's correct, absolutely right.
So whose nickel is that?
Actually, it's a split. We're splitting it 50-50.
Okay, I think Dylan had a question.
Sure.
and Bill.
And again, these are good.
Yeah.
It's why, you know, I'm here, because we haven't had a chance to even discuss these plans. And just so you know too, my main idea of this is, as I said, we've had the consultants working on all the other projects. The one that they could still work on is the Algonquin Villa Avenue one that you had mentioned. Other than that, we're in a holding pattern probably for the next 6 months. So that's why I was like, well, you know what? I could have them start designing Owen Fish if A, you're somewhat receptive to it, and if you're not, well then why would I spend, and this is my estimation only, but $50,000 to $80,000 on design if it's not even, if it's like, no way, it's never going to fly. So that was my main reason. And if, even though, I mean, you could take an informal vote, you could give me your comments, and then I can kind of absorb them and figure out for myself whether the town will go with this or not. But that was the main reason why I've even held it, is that I knew that this is a very sensitive subject, and as I said, $50,000 to $80,000 for the design, and most likely it's probably between $700,000 or $800,000, and that's their estimates. And if you have a really good under drain, we're probably looking at $1 million, $1 million for this. For that.
I think it would be worthwhile to maybe bring Anthony into the conversation if to see if we were to move forward with the turf that Brian touched on earlier and having a detention center underneath the turf. You know, so like what they would need to do to build the turf is they would.
Yeah, no, I know. They have them underneath some shopping centers.
Yeah.
Some of the larger Walmarts in the world there have these underground systems. They are expensive. A lot of it will depend on the soil. If you notice, although in this case we couldn't do it anyway, but a lot of times we've elected to do berms and trap the water, because if you go down, say, 3 feet and hit water, your detention pond is then at maximum going to be only 3 feet.
Right.
And so, that's one of the reasons why, and I don't know offhand, let me know if anyone has, when, where the water table is on this one, and that would be obviously, if we went for the design, that would be part of the testing that they would have to do.
Yeah.
And so, but that, just to let you know, that was my way of thinking was, if this is, if you did an informal vote and, I don't know, 6 out of 7 or all 7 said, no way, this hampers our master plan, I'm not going to deal with here or whatever, that's fine, you know what I mean? That's how the board feels, and we need to get your approval. But then I'm going to go back, to be honest with you, and to the residents and just say, you know what? Parks and Rec turned it down. There's nothing I can do. And I'm not going to just throw you under the bus. I'm going to say they obviously had concerns. Here are their concerns, It could also be conservation that shoots it down, But those, those are the things, and that's why I'm here. It's just, even as I said, fine. The other thing, lastly, would be is if you're like, we'll keep an open mind, let's see what the design is. And then if the design is no good, but we've spent money on the design, but at least, you've done a full-fledged due diligence, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding you right, if we have a 1-inch storm, there's no water can go in there, right?
Well, again, the final design would tell us, but right now, if the water handles in the pipes, then it would be fine. This chamber would only flow the water when the pipes can't handle it anymore.
Okay.
So it would be a significant storm.
If we have like a bad storm, right?
Mhm.
So the fields are going to be wet. They're going to be wet all over town. It's not like, the next day people are playing baseball in the baseball field.
Right,
So
let's just say we got a 2 or 3 inch
Minor
rainfall.
inconvenience for
Closed, you're
for
right.
a couple of days. I mean, so what I see is like, if it's the best place, and and it's not something. When we get a sprinkle like the white, you got to close the white when it sprinkles because it floods all the time.
Mhm.
I don't see it as being a major problem if it's an extra day that the field is closed. Especially
And again,
in the redesign, it's for grass field anyways for soccer. If they have soccer, is where if they put the soccer field here for the multi-purpose.
It's a turf.
yeah.
That's turf,
Yeah, that's turf.
Yeah.
The
Well,
supposedly turf.
Yeah, well, maybe
Oh,
that
artificial turf, just to be clear.
Yeah.
not sod.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So,
So maybe
and
they
then-
don't get on perfect then.
And what I will do is, and Anthony might have, and again, I talked to Anthony even about this concept and the one on Melville, I'm going to say that was probably in the fall last year. He may have sent me the master plan. I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest with you. And if he did, I haven't even had a chance to, haven't had a chance to look at it. So I definitely will look at it and let our consultant know if we decide to go forward with that, what I call due diligence design. But I don't blame you, and I would say the same thing, because if they do this and it's not 1 or 2 days, but it's, say, 2 weeks. Now, again, if this is every 3 years or every 5 years, closing it down for 2 weeks, if it's going to help the other people, that's a balancing act. If it's, if it's going to be closed a couple of days every single, 2 or 3 months, then that might be unacceptable. And so, but I can't, and I don't even think the consultant could tell you what that would be until all testing, final, and then you even have to see the under drain system. And that's why I didn't want you to vote on it, but I didn't want to get, too far, into the process without checking.
Chris, we have McKay and then you, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, so one of the things that struck me in the report is that it said providing detention at this particular site would not directly correlate with a particular flooding area. And this is fundamentally my problem with this conversation overall, is I don't know how we can talk about one site in isolation. I think we have to talk about the total impact of the flooding, where it's going to have the most benefit, because based off of what I've read in this report, while I understand the recommendation, it also comes across as very theoretical in my opinion, and it may not actually help people at all in the impacted areas. And so if that's the case, then this is a terrible idea. No offense. Now, if it does actually alleviate some of the problem, I on the other hand, too, and this was in an introductory email that came across, I think it would be naive for any of us to assume that it's just going to be like we're going to have a rainstorm and drainage is going to become an increasing problem at this site, without a doubt. And until I see evidence otherwise of that, I think we have to operate under the assumption that drainage will become a problem at this particular site for the foreseeable future. And we are in a place where we are already strapped for field space.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
And we already struggle with, frankly, rain closing sites down, turning everything into a mucky mess to begin with. All that to say, one thing that you said early on in your presentation, which I really appreciated because I thought I was going to have to make this point. The people who did this study had a specific objective, which was to deal with the flooding issue. Their objective was not to improve our park, right? And I think the point that you made, which I really agree with, was they were probably more concerned with the park aspect of it than the sports aspect.
Right, I think so too.
And I touched on that immediately. What I would strongly suggest, I don't think I think it would be a mistake for any of us to shoot this down right now. I don't think there's enough information, but I also firmly believe too that based off of what I've read from this particular vendor, I'm not sure they have any expertise in sports facilities. And I think for us to seriously consider this, I would really like an eye of an expert who, like, I'm sort of like, let's make lemonade out of lemons, right? If this actually is a meaningful solution, then let's invest in it. But let's invest in it in a way that helps solve this problem and improves our actual facilities within town, right? And so that may mean investing substantial dollars in creating the proper drainage system and actually improving the facilities overall. And so where I would feel most comfortable as a next step is if we were to say, yeah, let's include somebody who can look at this not from a civil engineering perspective, but from actually improving sports complexes to understand what kind of underground drainage is safe, responsible, and frankly state-of-the-art to help improve our facilities.
Now, I will preface that if you're reading it, and again, I don't know if you're familiar, it used to be Malone and McBroom, and then they became SLR. I know Malone and McBroom had done some landscape architecture. I thought they had done some fields maybe in the 90s with the town, but I could also tell you that I'm pretty sure those designers are no longer with the group there. The one I know in particular retired about 8-10 years ago. So the one who had the most impact back then, he has left the company. I do know, and they were one of the ones that did write the first FEMA flood maps back in the 70s, this company. That was, hydrology was their main aspect. But I know they had, as I said, some sports fields design. But I'll definitely make a note of that. And just to let you know, as an engineer, but I also can see things the other way as well. As I said, being a sports fan myself and all that, the flood, believe me, the flooding is a potential concern of me as well. You know, the drainage of the fields, I should say. Rose-colored glasses, well, if you have, I'll just arbitrarily say, $150,000, $200,000 under-drained system, you might actually, for all the other days where it rained 1 inch, where it didn't overflow the pipe, you might actually improve the field.
I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But we also know that, well, the soils weren't that good, and then something happened, and like I said before, they're telling us, you know, the field is going to flood 24 to 36 hours. Well, what happens if it's 60 hours? You know what I mean? So all those things are totally...
But we're on the same page. If it's worth doing, like if this actually does, because people's houses shouldn't flood, right? Like that is obviously devastating to individuals and devaluing to the town itself. I would also say screwing up our parks is also devaluing the town as well.
Mhm.
So let's focus on improving value, and like I said, bring in, if we can design, if this truly the solution is going to make an impact, and that's questionable in this report. Let's just put that out there. But if it does make an impact, then let's be willing to invest in not only solving the flooding problem, but improving the state of the fields as well.
All right, so I'll make that, and then as I said, when was the master plan done? I'm just curious. I know he mentioned it a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Oh, no, the plan itself was done,
6 months ago?
9 months ago.
Oh, okay.
It was completed.
All right.
But
10/12,
it's,
2022. It says right here.
okay.
So that might be even, because I did know that there was a master plan, but like I said, I don't know if Anthony had sent me, or it might have been a draft or whatever, then I
But
don't
there's,
know.
that, again, that, like, this is an outside consulting firm who had a lot of focus groups, a lot of, they invited everyone from the town, then they had specific focus groups, and they put together a plan.
Now, do you think as a board, you would hire them to actually do the design, or that was just a study? 'Cause
No,
there's two
they don't
different-
live here, they're from Rhode Island.
They
Oh,
also
okay.
cared more, it was the same problem.
Right.
Everybody focused on the
Okay.
beautification as opposed to.
Yeah, so effectively, where we are with that is, for all intent and purposes, nowhere. They have put together a major plan. They've broken it into various phases. If we had $100 million sitting in Anthony's checkbook, we could do a lot of it. But we're now evaluating what we want to do. We're moving pieces
Right, oh yeah,
from
sure.
phase 2 to phase 1, phase 1 to 3, and then we have to, as a group, truly evaluate what we want to push for, and then we start at the board of selectmen, and go to the Board of Finance, and it's a long process. So we're really, besides a 100-page document from its consulting firm, we're nowhere on that.
But, no, I appreciate it, because, again, we're just trying to, as I say, balance things out, because one thing at least we could all say is, well, at least I didn't have them do design final plans, and then you guys had the master plan, that if they haven't started yet outside of conceptually, then we have...
I got a picture of it.
Oh, actually, if I could see it, I don't mind just sitting like...
Oh, so, I won't even look at that. Here you go, sir.
Sure, thanks. So it would be that corner.
Sheriff, you know.
So, this is Dave. Can I budge in?
So what, if it was going...
Hi, David. You're
the other
gonna
way.
you're gonna be after me.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's Chris.
Is that, okay.
Bill, I'm forwarding you the master plan.
Oh, thank you, Dylan. So, all right, but again, I think, like you said, we're both on the same page, and certainly we want what's best for the town. We don't want this to backfire on a recreational way or a flooding way, by all means. So.
Oh, this brings up a second question for me, if you don't mind.
You get one, and then we'll come back.
1A and 1B. All right, so you mentioned something about Fairchild Wheeler. So my question is, going up the line, right? Like, Route 8 or wherever. Where and is it Mouth, Head? Where is the beginning of the Rooster River?
Figure around the Trumbull Mall area, right by the Merritt Parkway.
Okay,
Trumbull Mall. So when that rains, they built that mall. What?
Now,
70 or 60?
So the addendum to that is that part of Bridgeport?
No, that's actually part of it's Trumbull.
So how are you guys working with Trumbull, Bridgeport together?
We are in a sense that we've been doing a lot more with Bridgeport. With Trumbull, to give you an example.
I guess they don't get flooded then.
Right.
Okay, so
they
don't
the problem.
They don't
When it comes to detention,
if
we're holding back whatever, so, wherever the holding back is going to realistically get more water, in the immediate area.
Okay.
The downstream gets less. And so if you don't have a flooding problem.
They don't really care.
Yeah.
All right, and so this is kind of a weird question, but it's very pertinent. So I'm noticing in the outfield with the multi-turf soccer field, lacrosse, etc. Obviously, when you're dealing with turf, you're not dealing with grass, right? So how does that affect you know, the $500,000 or $1 million field that goes out there? Does anybody have an answer for that one? If there's water continuously coming up through the table and you have a $500,000 turf field, what's the answer to that?
Yeah, well, again, I didn't know, and I know the consultant didn't know about it.
That, I mean,
Now,
that's
with
a
the
huge
turf-
thing. I
again,
mean, does it
the
need to,
different
like,
turfs.
correct, does it need to be
Is
replaced
this
every
the
2
one with
years?
the black little,
Yeah.
No.
or no?
No.
Yeah, or
Like
That's-
Dylan might
the
have
one-
it. You may have an answer for that one. I mean, like now, does this like is it a
Is it a
10-year
carpet
field or is it a
sod,
5
or
year?
is
First of all, I don't think there's been any decisions.
No.
What were you gonna say?
We're, if, you know, whatever, turf we go with, it will not be the crumb rubber.
Yeah, and I'm not
It's
saying that from an
environmental,
environmental, I'm just saying that that's where, if it, like he said, if the water ponded, then you start having that stuff.
Well, I think we should figure out if it's possible to put a detention area underneath the turf.
I think you have to, right?
Yeah, well,
Well, if
well,
it
they
was-
have drainage in.
If
in
it
the
was turf,
field.
you'd have to, but I would then probably, most likely, change the price of this, because anytime you do underground, we'd have to obviously do the testing.
I'd double the price.
Yeah, exactly. But-
Dave has a question.
One of the things, though, is when you double in the price, though, in fairness, if you were to dig this all up to put the detention in or to regrade the field anyway, then yeah, you doubled the price. But if you said, well, half of it, you know, was going to be for the field anyway and the other half for drainage, then maybe it's not as bad. And that's why I think somebody made a point of, it's
Interesting.
possible that this could be incorporated and have a benefit for both parties. That would be really rose-colored glasses.
That goes
But
to county.
It's possible. Yeah, you never, you know.
Yeah.
So, I'll mention that, yep.
David, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, as I read the report.
Hold on, we can't hear you.
We're just gonna turn you up.
Okay, go
now.
ahead.
Is it possible to have or create more than one detention area?
For, at Owen Fish or elsewhere in the watershed?
Yeah, anywhere else in the watershed.
Oh, yeah, we've looked at 7 sites, and 2 of them would have a significant positive impact. 1 would have a localized impact. 2 of them are not even worth going any further. There was less than a 1% benefit, and they would have been anywhere from several $100,000 to millions. And then that leaves really just the Owen Fish one left. And then maybe a very, very minor thing at Melville, and that would only be, and even there on Melville, I'm also looking at another area on the other side of Little Brook and Marion. There's a wetland there, and maybe if I just did a 2-foot detention berm, that might slow down the same amount of we would have gotten with the Melville detention area that was proposed originally.
So downstream, there's very
Yeah,
little.
there's
that-
not, oh yeah, no, unfortunately this area is all urbanized and
Yeah.
there's not many, I mean, that's the thing, you don't really, you know, many people don't realize that, you know, and even with Bridgeport and mostly Trumbull, it's all developed, that we don't have, you know, an area that we could store the water where it would make a significant difference. The biggest
Got
bang
it.
for the buck is going to be at the golf course, Fairchild
Yep.
Mueller Golf Course, yeah.
Yep. And we own that land.
No, actually, the city of Bridgeport owns that. It's in the town of Fairfield. But we have been working with Bridgeport, and they actually offered to contribute to some of the construction of it. So.
Okay. So one more question: the state grants. I mean, if you improve your sewer system, you get 1% loan for 30 years. Is the same kind of grant available?
Well, right now, the grant money that we're using, we may run out of it, but right now we still have a good portion of it left, is, I think it's $2.8 million, but it's for all the projects that we're going to propose. That came from ARPA money, so we already are using a grant from the American Resource Recovery, I think it was called, Act, or something like that, ARPA. I'm
just
you would find
surprised.
hard very back, but it's already been 2 years. And that's another thing to consider too. The ARPA money has to be allotted for or encumbered by the end of 2024.
Does
Yeah, but this could be included in the ARPA money, right?
Assuming Fairchild Wheeler, and I'm just throwing out numbers, let's say that's $1.5 million, Tungus is $1 million, that would give us $300,000 towards this field. Something like that, you know. And it is possible that the other two ones, again, those are going to be the most bang for the buck. We are doing them first. So if we run out of money, then that's another issue that we would have to then contend with. So it's not just convincing, 7 or 9, how many there are. It would be convincing all three boards that more money is needed.
Okay. So the question I was going to ask, as it originates in Trumbull, does Trumbull have any responsibility for creating upstream detention?
No, not legal.
They just put another building up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. For the apartments,
building,
I
yeah.
just talked about the way we worked with Trumbull, when they proposed the apartments right at the Trumbull Mall. We had fought that. I talked to the city of Bridgeport. Let's write letters, have it on record that we want a decrease, not just a no net increase, a decrease. So originally it came back, it's a decrease of 20%. And I looked at the numbers, and I'll just say that what they call a curve number. It's really related to the difference between existing and proposed conditions. I thought they were very, what's the opposite of conservative? They slanted it to their, in my opinion, way. So we brought that to their attention. I think I might have caught an error as well. They had to change the numbers. The next thing you know, it was not even, maybe a 1% decrease. And basically making the announcement, having it on record, the planning board voted to approve it as proposed. Because, as you know, malls aren't doing so well, and so they looked at the business, again, balance, they looked at the business aspect. But it's a little bit easier for them because, as they're saying, maybe the 3,000 people that got flooded or whatever, maybe there's 100 in Trumbull, maybe there's even 0. I don't know. But it's not many, and they're the top of the watershed on that side.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But the Trumbull, for what it's worth, that we are constantly asking, and I said, hey, if you ever have any detention and you need, again, same thing, trying to get grant money, do whatever, if there's a program, certainly the town of Fairfield will support your application. So we are constantly working with them, but they're politically, they're not in any rush to help us out unless it benefits them as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Trumbull runs its sewer lines through Bridgeport, right?
I believe that's still the case, yes.
All right. Phil?
Yeah, just one more thing. I guess, because Owen Fish is like part of the master plan. We've moved it to phase 2.
Yes.
So that ideally couldn't happen for another 5,
If
10
that
years.
happens, then, yes.
Yeah, so to make the assumption about worrying about the turf, I'm just looking out for homeowners, and I'm looking for the people downstream, and, no one wants to get flooded, and you say, well, because we want to keep the ball field open for an extra couple of days. And I'm a coach, trust me. When Sandy came through, I went down to Sullivan, and the field was fine. I'm like, why are we playing football? But the town was flooded, so that's how I feel. But I think that we need to really think about what's best for the residents. And, we got a park, I get it, but if it's out of commission for a couple of days or even a week, and it saves, 2,000 homes from getting flooded, then I think that would take priority.
And again,
We should definitely.
when you go for your vote, your formal vote, obviously they would be all design plans. They should have all the.
What's the turnaround on a build on all that?
That's why I'm here, because I'm figuring it's still going to take 4 months maybe to come up with a design and do all the testing. Then on this one, because there's no direct, although for here we have to do inland wetlands, but they're not going to, as long as we don't need Army Corps of Engineers or DEP, the permit process would be 2 months and then probably 6 months for construction. So you can see we're getting pretty close to that end of 2024. Yeah. If we at least started, and we have a contractor, A.B. Smith Company, then, we're fine. We can go to 2025. But you have to have the money allotted for it and plans, final approvals. So.
Yeah, he's right.
All right,
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to, as I said, give you an overview. I think it was important. I mean, at least now you're kind of, so if we decide to go forward with the design, come back in 4 months or whatever, at least now you, rather than, whoa, where'd this come
But
from?
are you going to be looking for, to us, for some guidance that we would be receptive to a plan at this park before you commence to spend that $50,000 or $80,000 on the plan?
If, as I said, if this had a snowball's hell of a chance, using that term or whatever, that you were ever going to allow this to go, well, then why spend money on the design?
Agreed.
That was
Agreed.
another option we could do is maybe at the 30% or 50%. So instead of 80,000, maybe they've done 30 or 40,000, or they've done some testing. If we find the water table is only 18 inches below, there goes the underground detention idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then that might play into things, but we could at least have them dip into it a little bit more. If I know at least, they're somewhat open, and then before they get too far, come back. Maybe we said 4 months. Maybe they come back if they're able to do something in 2 months, and that kind of like give you an update, and then to find out,
Well, we're not going to give you the green light from the commission tonight.
Right.
But we can certainly put it on the agenda for next month, at which point Anthony hopefully will be at the meeting, so we can have a more extensive conversation, and then as a commission vote to move it, not the approval, but at least to give you our indicative support.
And that's basically, as I said, I'm looking at if there is and again, just use Bill as an example, open mind, trying to see, what happens, then that's fine. If there's somebody who's like, no way, there's just too many chances, too many risks, I'm not ruining one of our better fields or whatever, then it's shot down.
But understand it's a democracy. So
Right, of
if
course.
one person feels that way,
Republic, actually.
but
And one republic.
I said it's a republic.
Yeah, my wife.
I'm just being facetious. I'm sorry. I fucking
No, my wife's the same way.
so, but we vote, and then it's
Right.
I mean, there's a quorum, there's a majority. There can be, some people who feel negatively, but we could still go for it. My thought on this would be to have that dialogue amongst the commission next month, and then after you go through the motions of coming up with an actual plan, design.
Yeah, which I wouldn't have in a month because I'd be waiting to hear.
Understand, we're not looking for that, and then
Right.
4 months from now or whatever, the timetable is come back and actually have another review of it.
One thing I might say, because I think I'm still going to have this question a month from now. I'm still not clear on what the relative risk reduction is as a result of this. And I think that's going to be important information to have.
Okay.
Okay, as you pointed out, it's all very theoretical. I think it'll still be theoretical a month from now, and we may not get any answers to that question until an actual...
I mean, I do have a little bit more information, but it's really detailed. It might say that, well, right now you have 82 CFS in this area, and it will go down to 47. If that means, if that means something to you, then I can certainly share that information to Anthony and send it to the. I just didn't want to overwhelm you between the plans and.
No, I was going to say maybe throw that in the ChatGPT and have it explained to an 8th grader, and then we'll get there. But
I was going to say, you're probably the only one in the room that means something to.
So, well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Oh, sure.
First of all, my sincere apologies for being late. I had a brain fart. All of our Board of Ed meetings start at 7:30, so I'm just trucking along, and my apologies. If you've already covered this is just a silly question, but to make that that area, are you depressing the field?
No, on this one, it's a berm right here. It's a berm. A berm is like a rolling hill or
it's terrifying.
But where it's blue,
where it's blue.
in the left field.
Yeah, is where the water would go during a very heavy rainfall.
So what's keeping it from going
Well, again, this would be sized for a
Just like
particular
Florida.
storm.
Right, but on the other side of it,
On the other side, of it, like back over here,
I can get off my ass, get off.
either that
They need
or,
to come back with better, better stuff.
What's
like
keeping it from going
Yeah, how-
more onto the field?
How do you
well,
know?
that is a
Because there's a
situation.
huge drop there.
Yeah.
So you center field is pretty level, and then it's, I don't
So
know what.
in other words, it's the natural
Correct.
grass of the field as opposed to we're gonna,
It's terrible.
it's gonna
Yeah.
go down more,
Yeah,
and
we're
now you've got
already
less
going-
fielders who are
No.
going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
like
it's dangerous.
But if we did reconfigure the park, we would want that
Level.
to be
Yeah.
more level.
That's the whole point.
Well, yeah, if you do turf, it has to be level,
It has
right?
to,
So
of
if the
course.
turf is at the level of the highest point on the field,
That's why the only way
Talk about
that works
playing
is-
down.
There's more people probably get injured at Owen Fish than at any other park in town.
So, but isn't this the fundamental issue? Like, the only way to make this work would to be having some kind of underground
Mhm.
airbag, basically an airbag system, I think.
With the fields,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah.
If we kept the fields that way, then, no.
Then I'm not sure we have a baseball field.
Correct. Correct.
And as I said, I can check and see, or, we're still in a relatively, although we had a mini drought, but, relatively, wet time of the year as opposed to July and August. If it's possible, I can see if I can either have one of our engineers hire somebody, to do, or maybe even have DPW come and do a couple of test pits at least to just see, you know. We may have that information already. I don't think we do though. So, but I can check on that, and see. If I may, just while I have you, even though I have another appointment, I just wanted to, if you give me 2 minutes or so, just to explain a little bit of Tungus Hill, if that's all right?
Yes.
That's where I take the opportunity. Now, this is North Strand Avenue. Melville is over here. This is the Upper Tungus Hill Little League field. On this one, we burned, if you imagine the home run fence there, or that would be a right field.
I'm not sure they even have a fence.
No, I think there's a fence there with the running track, or walking track. And so, again, just to show you the balance of everything. So our original plan had the berm here, the dike here to trap the water. Then we were also trying to trap this stream over here and really make it a significant improvement, but it was too much water for it to handle. So we could only do this one stream. Doing this and meeting even preliminarily with the Connecticut DEP, they were like, oh, you're going to be losing, I'm just going to arbitrarily, I don't know the number offhand, 1,000 square feet of wetlands by doing that. We want you to move the berm as far as you can to the edge of where the fence is. Originally, and even back in, it was last April, to show you how long this goes, their original idea was, well, rather than do this, can't you just lose the field or make the berm here? So again, just to show you the efforts on that, I had Anthony write a letter. I said, you got to send me a letter saying that this is whatever, crazy. We can't afford to lose the field. At $1 million an acre, this field, I think, is 1.5 acres alone. Not to mention the parking, not to mention it's the only green space in the whole section of town and all that. And it took about 3 months for them to convince them that we are not going to flood the field.
No.
So they had to go. They went out to the site, and when they saw it, and then, as I said, I had to explain it to them, and then they finally were convinced on that. But we would say that, you know, if we were to flood this field to get a replacement field, we estimated at $8 to $11 million, because you'd have to buy, you know, another section, knock down homes, you know what I mean, and to get that much of a property, and then do the parking, then redo everything, it might even been 11 to 15 million.
Yeah, and then you got
Crazy.
2 years worth of Little League kids.
Right, with nothing.
With nothing,
Yeah,
you
I know.
can't.
But just to show you, again, because they're just like the one group is just thinking of the hydrology, you know, the wetlands group and I'm an environmentalist and a hiker as well, but they were just thinking strictly as, again.
So wetlands
So
don't
we
want it
try
to
to-
get wet?
So
That's
we-
ignorant, I recognize that.
That would be a good question.
That would be, that would be, well, don't forget, we were taking some of the wet, by doing the berm, we were taking away some of the wetlands. And we were like, yeah, but on the fringes here, we could create more, and look how much more wet area it's gonna be, during a really significant rain. So I just wanted to show you that. The other thing, though, I also want to mention, because I also want to kind of get a little bit of a feedback, is on this one, and as you might have heard me mention it, on that upper one at the golf course, by doing this and doing a berm, you don't want any dam breaks or anything, and so there can't be any trees here. So right along the fence, luckily there's not too many trees, but all those trees would have to go, and then probably right in the area where it's going to be most wet, we might eventually lose some trees as well there. So that was another concern that the group had. And I'm like, in this area here, yes, so instead of, we'll just say 150 feet of woods, we might now only have 120, or, you know what I mean? But at least we still have a lot of woods here. They're like, oh, well, in Darien, there was one, there was a protest and something else about trees and whatever. It was a whole different situation. And I said, in this case, especially the people who live here that are looking at it, they're the ones that are getting flooded. Little place has gotten flooded. I know these 3 or 4 houses at Nordstrand are getting flooded. I think they would be okay losing trees, just to your point, versus having to get flooded, in their eyes, probably 2 or 3 times in the last 3 or 4 years, So we just wanted to get a feel of what we're dealing with on this one. But as you can see, being behind these, or pretty much, it should be behind the fence. It won't affect any dimensions or anything of the field. So I can't say. I mean, it might, if by pushing this over, we had to lose the track 2 feet or something like that. We might have to do that, but it's not going to be significant. And this is the one that's right now in the midst of the permit process. And this one.
Yeah. When it comes to private property bill, I mean, there are going to be claims of eminent domain?
No, this is all on town property.
Yeah, but you had, okay now, but you had Brooklawn in the equation?
No,
the Brooklawn one's not. No, that one was deemed too expensive for no benefit. It was less than 1% benefit, and it was probably at least $1 to $2 million, and that was 2019 prices. So, yeah, Brooklawn is out. Brooklawn's out, and Woodfield Village is out.
Right.
Melville Avenue, we're still Melville Park, still tinking a little bit, but Anthony, on behalf of the Recreation Commission here, made it clear that they don't want any impact on that, so that would have to be something very small.
Could you just give us a sense of, let's just put any kind of vote from this group aside for that, could you just give us a sense of sequencing as well in terms of when you would actually move earth, like in,
for this, or just all
among the 3?
Well, once we get the permits, the final plans, and they would make them so that they'd be final construction plans, and they would put that out to bid. So saying that, I think the Army Corps said that they have until October. So let's just say by the time everything, they finish doing the bid documents or whatever, we put the thing out to bid January 2024. Award the bid in March. So we'd probably be looking at March, where they could, or maybe if we awarded in February, March, they would probably do the Thompson's Hill and the Fairchild Wheeler.
Okay.
We could do them concurrently. We could do them separate if it's the same company and they have, they could have 2 crews going. I don't see any benefit. We could possibly do the bid as, site 1 and site 2, and then, if you have 2 different contractors, that's that's okay, you know.
And then this one, I mean, I know there's a lot of questions, but if you were to just give a educated guess, like when would this follow?
I'll be completed, like?
Yeah.
I would have to think it's probably anywhere from 4 to 8 months to complete everything. It really all depends on what mitigation these permits, as I said, Army Corps and DEEP might make us do certain things.
I meant for Owen Fish. Like, like,
strictly for Owen Fish?
Like, would that, like, I'm maybe I'm mistaken. I'm assuming Owen Fish would be the last of the
that would be correct. Owen Fish would be last.
Okay.
That would be
I
mean, outside of it, I said if I did something really, really small at Melville.
Yeah, okay. But, so, I mean, of course we don't know, but roughly 2025.
Well, again, if we were using ARPA money, we would want to have everything done by the end.
Okay.
So if we put the thing out to bid, hire the contractor in November of '24, we'd still be okay if it took 2025 to build.
Got it. Okay.
But if the bids, the permits, or whatever are not done by the end of 2024, we can no longer use ARPA money.
Okay.
And this is, just so I fully understand, this is an undertaking by the town of Fairfield and Bridgeport. There's no outside Connecticut entities that are putting pressure on us to do this remediation. Is there? This is.
In terms of stormwater improvements? Yes. No, right now there's no.
This is all on us. It was our idea, and we're just trying to improve the flooding situation on behalf of our residents.
Right.
Okay.
And just to give you an idea, stretching it a little bit, I tried to have the state, because according actually Dylan might have been the one that told me that during that 2018 storm, water came across Route 59. And so I'm like, ooh, that could be dangerous, you know, or whatever, for traveling public. Maybe we could get some grant drainage thing, but the state said no.
There was a lot of flooding on Route 59.
Yeah, but the state said no. It didn't happen often enough or whatever.
Chris, did you have another question?
Yeah, out of just curiosity, you mentioned at the ballpark with the berm, the trees. Just explain that. Like again, curiosity.
For Tungus Hill.
Like why would you not? You have to take trees down.
Because
just why I just want to learn.
If you've ever gone by a river, all right.
Yeah.
Or if you had a tree in your own yard, the wind knock it down.
Okay.
The root system lifts everything up.
So it could take the berm.
So
it
would take the berm and create a hole in the berm.
So it's an engineering kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a quick question. Again, sure. I this wouldn't be a Parks and Rec thing, but the parking that is at the bottom of, what is it, the bottom of Villa, that old car dealership, I mean, that is flooded all the time. Is that anything that the town has looked at?
Now you're referring to the Miller, the old Miller?
Yeah.
That car?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Across from Nutmeg Bowl, right?
Yeah, correct.
It's all boarded up, and I know it floods all the time.
We have the owner of that property is very interested in developing it somehow.
That thing's right.
But there's two things that, one is the hydraulics, and like you said, the hydrology of it and the flooding. That area, it was at least 4 or 5 feet deep. But we actually had a contractor during the Kings Highway project park 2 or 3 these construction vehicles, and I think the police department sometimes parks the Board of Ed there.
They've got the cars washed
That's got to be like 20 acres,
so that's
right?
one. Yeah. So that's and then the other is unfortunately that site being a car dealership and maybe even something before that. I think it was built on fill, and they grabbed the fill from the Bullard foundry, and so I believe that's all contaminated as well. And so they've been trying to develop that for many, many years. The town would like to get rid of that eyesore, so we're trying to help and support, but again, you have to follow all the environmental rules, and then what happens is, this is just my personal opinion, but if, let's just say it costs $5 million to develop the site, hey, it might be worth it, but if it's $20 million, then the cost is just so high, they can't turn the site into a profitable site, and so they're trying to figure out ways. And there's a couple of ways you can, sometimes you can cap contaminated sites, sometimes you can put fill on, you can pave over it, but then you pave over it, we just talked about increasing runoff. See, that's what I mean. Right. So if this was in an area that wasn't susceptible to flooding, then they probably could have done that. You know, similar, I think, in Stratford, along the highway there where the Walmart is, I think that used to be a Superfund site. And basically, I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they capped it or they paved over it and they were able to do that. You know. But here, we have some reservations of just outright, you know, they have to then prove that it's not going to increase runoff. So they're kind of caught in a pickle. But I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it did.
But don't, you know, as I said, I'm like 90%, but I'm not 100% of everything that's going on.
One last quick question. So if Fairchild, will they lose a green that you said temporarily?
Fairchild, no, they won't, but it's in the golf play area, fairway area. But they won't lose the green.
Because it says on the black course, right?
That I don't know.
Yes.
Red or black? Is it black or red?
It's on black
So
horse.
it's going to disrupt play.
Your men's league.
No, I don't know.
Well,
kidding.
Bill, it's about residents.
We're here for the people. We're here for all the people.
But no, you bring up an interesting point though, and that's where, you know, we're trying to push the Army Corps
They
to
have
get us
35
a
other
permit
holes.
early enough where if we have a winter like we did this year, you know, maybe they can work in January when the golf course isn't open as opposed to, you know, April. So,
I played all winter there.
Yeah.
They were full on the weekend. They were full on the weekend.
Yeah, that area A, Fairchild River, that's always soaking wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, and that,
yeah.
well,
B looks like a green, right?
They're close, but you can play on, but during the construction is a major concern.
17
That's why we're
green.
really having
There's
fingers
a pond
crossed that they can
Yeah.
get this going, you know, and get the permits and then
B
we
is the
start.
collection area for
Start in
golf balls, so
December.
people are trying to get some more.
How many's Brian the roll
Because they do close the black
More than one.
That is the black course.
So I don't put my
So
initial
they do
on.
close it over the winter. This year they had it open for the weekend,
Yeah.
but the red course is open in flood,
Yeah.
We can still play through,
Monday through,
Area
Sunday.
A.
So,
right? I mean, that's on the fairway.
Yeah, I like the power of purple.
Well, I think that's everything, right? So,
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
thanks,
You were great.
Thank you.
Sorry
Trying to answer, but as you can see, some things we still don't know yet, and so.
You're perfect. Thank
You're
you.
very nice and patient.
Yeah.
All right,
Much
so moving
appreciated.
on, Board of Ed report.
Yeah, so light report, like Anthony, the Board of Ed budget as part of the town budget is getting voted on May 1st. We haven't so far gotten a whole lot of questions from the RTM, so I'm not sure where it's going to go, but that'll be May 1st. A couple of other things going on. In Policy Committee, we are looking at our Booster Club policy, which we don't have, but that would very directly affect the athletics and the athletic support of the town, and looking to ensure equity that's not imbalance in terms of the resources and what's being supported in town. So that's in terms of athletics. Since I know this group has been interested in the past, we should be getting a report soon regarding redistricting. We have received absolutely nothing yet, so there's nothing I'm holding back because I don't know anything yet. Looking forward to that discussion. What were the other two things I wanted to bring up? I know that the issue of the Ludlow Field, the Roger Ludlow Field, and what's going on with baseball, I know that there is a meeting taking place next week that Anthony is going to be at, and a lot of Ludlow parents are going to be at, baseball parents, to get more information, which is something we've been talking about here. And I know that that issue in their mind is not going away, so that they are trying to, and some current and past baseball parents have been really on that. They've been contacting Board of Ed about that quite a bit, which, again, not there's much that we can do about it except hear them out. So that's still ongoing. And in that vein, I just wanted to put in the 2 cents, which I'm completely with Bill, that it's about the residents with, all of this, but the thought that that field, of course, is where the freshman and JV Ludlow baseball team is playing in the spring. So, it's a double thank you. It's the double whammy of not only are we not going to be able to assuming that nothing changes, accommodate them on their own site, but now possibly taking action, which is going to further make it difficult for them to practice. That's, I don't know what to tell them that, but
You're talking Owen Fish?
Correct.
The Ludlow kids go over there.
That's where they have to go for their practice
So,
and to play.
question. with the Ludlow Middle School, with the amalgamation of like the crazy turf with every possible turf team, I know those are practice facilities. Will JV, I assume, be able to practice over there? Where did JV softball girls go?
Well, softball goes, as far as I know, over to Sturgis. So they,
Well, is that
they
varsity,
walk
though?
over the hill.
So where's
It's
JV
like-
practice?
Because
Because they have a JV team. I know that.
I've always assumed that both of them just took turns on that field. I know that.
I
So I'm trying to think
don't know. I mean, that's like,
varsity and JV at Ward.
I would assume like
the one softball.
the girls would
field.
practice every day of the week.
Unless they go to Melville.
They go to Melville
They do.
at Ward. I don't know where the Ludlow girls go.
That's a good question, right?
They might go to like Ferris or. You know, there's a
Okay,
couple
so
of
they're
softball
boss
girls.
too then.
I think so, yeah.
All right.
I think went to theirs.
Maybe not Ferris, but there are fields over there. that they
Veterans.
utilize.
Well, one of those is the
yes.
ones that.
They're probably
St.
veterans,
Thomas
okay.
is-
Veterans or maybe Sherman.
Okay. Yeah, well, all right. So yeah, they're not they're not like walking
Sure.
out of their school to
I think
go.
you're right with that.
All right.
But
all right.
as of our
It
last
makes more sense than
meeting,
no one fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was going to be no baseball at the Roger Ludlow field, unless I'm misremembering it. But
Wow.
that
They
was
said because of the lighting.
because of the lighting, because of where they'd have to put the poles and the
Oh, right.
setup.
Oh yeah, they're not going to put lights there, right?
Right.
No,
No,
they are
they
putting
are.
lights are the
But you can't
priority
have-
there.
Yeah. No, if you put the lights in, you can't have baseball.
Well, I guess you can if ZBA would approve it.
Yeah.
But Anthony's conversation off the record, or was informally, I don't want to say off the record,
Okay.
informally, was that didn't have a high likelihood of passing ZBA because of the lights on 95.
Oh, I see. I just assumed it was like an after-school facility. I didn't realize it was going to be like at night.
Well, I think that's
Yeah, for
it.
practice.
Parks and Rec was, Anthony is looking
Yeah.
to have more lighted
For
fields.
football and for.
Okay.
For
Soccer and everything.
Yeah. So his priority, the greater priority for him was the lighting versus,
So Owen Fish is definitely going to be a little bit of a head scratcher for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is there a reason why it's closed for softball this year?
Well, the whole point was they're going to turf the outfield, and then where the softball field is, that's going to be the baseball field.
No, they were gonna do it this summer, but it's closed to softball, and then softball.
I know.
They needed it for other leagues. But you can accommodate all the men's softball leagues with just Hayden. If you do 6.
Not on Tuesday night.
Yeah, a lot. My
Tuesday
first
night
game's
was
on
short,
Monday
but-
at 6.
Yeah, they want it Monday with
How
the
many teams in the Tuesday league?
12.
12? Yeah.
They should be able to accommodate everybody at
They
Hayden.
can't. They have to
No.
rotate
They
it
play
out.
on like either
We have 3
Wednesdays
games
as well?
on Mondays
Yeah,
at
that's
6. But then you also have the women's league is on Monday too, right?
Yeah.
There's not as many teams.
Okay. I guess
Yeah.
somehow they figured it all
I think they
out.
only take 2 slots for women.
All
Like
right.
a,
Yeah, you're gonna have a
6:15
the guys will have a 7:30 slot on Monday night.
yeah.
We'll have 2 Monday night games.
So so why would Owen Fish be shut down then?
I think they need it for other leagues.
What other
Little League
league?
Baseball. Fairfield National plays over there. We use that.
Oh, that's
too.
like a weekend thing.
Well, practice.
Practice.
I guess. I don't know. Anthony will be able to
Well,
let us know
In the
about
high
that.
High school girls use Melville.
no, boys.
Yeah, but they don't use a
They're not
softball
using
field. They use a baseball.
Yeah, but you can't have 2 going at
You can't have
once.
2 going at
So
once, yeah.
if you book one,
Oh,
it
that's
blocks
true.
off the other.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's it?
All right. Thank
Thank you. And the director's report is in the package.
Thank you. We'll read it.
Yeah. Let's change.
All right.
Motion, sir.